The stars looked cold and distant as Commander Thalen stood on the bridge of his flagship. Behind him, 300 warships waited in formation. They had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of a small solar system. At the center of that system was a blue planet called Earth. Thalen smiled. This would be easy. His species, the Qualith, had conquered 17 worlds already. Earth would be number 18. The Qualith were strong, advanced, and feared across the galaxy. No one could stand against them. "Show me the planet," Thalen ordered. The main screen flickered to life. Earth appeared, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. White clouds swirled over blue oceans. Green and brown land masses dotted the surface. It looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. "What do we know about them?" Thalen asked his second officer. "They call themselves humans, Commander. They have only one planet. No colonies, no deep space stations. Their technology is primitive. They still use chemical rockets to reach orbit. They fight among themselves constantly. Different nations, different governments. They are divided and weak," Thalen nodded. "Perfect. They will fall quickly." The Qualith had studied Earth for years. They watched human television broadcasts. They listened to radio signals. They saw a species that argued over everything. Humans fought over land, resources, and beliefs. They seemed unable to unite even against common problems on their own world. How could they possibly unite against an alien invasion? "Move the fleet forward," Thalen commanded. "Standard invasion pattern. We will be in orbit within 6 hours." The massive fleet began moving toward Earth. Thalen felt satisfied. Soon another world would belong to the Dominion. Another species would serve under Qualith rule. It was the natural order of things. The strong ruled the weak. Far below, deep under the Pacific Ocean, Director Han sat in a command center that officially did not exist. Thousands of screens surrounded him, showing data from sensors across the solar system. Lights blinked. Numbers scrolled. And then an alarm sounded. "Sir, we have contact," said a young officer. 300 ships Qualith design entering the system. Han did not look surprised. He did not panic. Instead, he smiled. A grim, cold smile. "Finally," he said quietly. "Alert all stations. Activate Protocol Omega." Around him, officers moved quickly to their posts. Fingers flew over keyboards. Secure messages shot out across encrypted channels. The command center hummed with controlled energy. On the moon, General Yuna received a message on her secure terminal. 3 simple words. "They are here." She stood up from her desk and walked to the window of her office. Outside, the lunar surface looked gray and lifeless. But Yuna knew the truth. Hidden beneath that innocent rock and dust were weapons, massive weapons, and they were now coming online. "All personnel to battle stations," Yuna announced over the base intercom. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Men and women in military uniforms rushed through corridors. Blast doors sealed, power systems activated. Weapons that had waited in silence for 30 years began charging their capacitors. Near Mars, Captain Tay stood on the bridge of his ship, the Silent Thunder. It was a stealth carrier invisible to enemy sensors. Around his ship, 49 more vessels waited, all hidden by advanced camouflage technology. They had been here for months, waiting in the dark and cold. "Orders received, Captain," his communications officer reported. "We are to hold position and wait for the signal." "Understood," Tay replied. He looked at the small dot of Earth on his screen. Home. He had trained his entire life for this moment. All crews to ready stations. Check weapon systems. Make sure every fighter is prepared to launch. Back in the command center under the Pacific, Han composed a message. He sent it on all frequencies in 17 different languages. It was short and simple. To the approaching fleet. "This is Earth Defense Command. You are entering our space without permission. Turn back now. This is your only warning. Turn back or face the consequences." On Thalen's flagship, the communications officer looked confused. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the planet." "They are warning us to leave," Thalen laughed. Actually laughed. "Warning us? They dare to warn the Qualith Dominion? What weapons do they have? Chemical rockets? Primitive missiles? Show me their military installations." The tactical officer brought up a scan of Earth. It showed cities, airports, military bases. Nothing impressive, nothing that could threaten a Qualith warship. But the tactical officer frowned. "Commander, there is something odd. I am detecting unusual electromagnetic signatures." Very strong power sources scattered across the planet, and also on their moon. Industrial pollution, Thalen said dismissively. Power plants. They are a young species learning to use electricity. Nothing more. Continue the advance, but the tactical officer was not convinced. He had fought in many campaigns. He knew what weapons signatures looked like. These readings were different from anything he had seen before. Commander, I recommend caution. These signatures, enough! Thalen snapped. We did not come all this way to turn back because of strange readings. The fleet continues. Prepare the first attack wave. What Thalen did not know, what his proud confidence would not let him see, was the truth. 30 years ago, a Qualith scout ship had crashed on Earth. It came down in the mountains of Korea, damaged by a malfunction in its hyperdrive. The crew died on impact, but the ship remained mostly intact. Humans found it within hours. They recovered the technology. They studied the computers. They learned the Qualith language. They found star charts. They discovered intelligence reports on Qualith military tactics. And most importantly, they learned that an invasion was planned. Earth's governments made a choice. They would prepare. In total secrecy, they would build a defense. They would reverse engineer Qualith technology. They would make weapons. They would train soldiers. And they would wait. For 30 years, humanity worked. Scientists labored in hidden laboratories. Engineers built weapons in underground facilities. Soldiers trained for a war that had not yet started. Trillions of dollars were spent. Millions of people worked on the project. And somehow, incredibly, they kept it secret. To the galaxy, Earth still looked primitive and divided. Humans still fought their small wars. Nations still argued. But it was all a mask. Behind that mask, humanity was united in a single purpose: survive. Now, as Thalen's fleet moved closer, that preparation was about to be tested. Han watched the enemy ships on his screens. They moved in standard Qualith formation, exactly as the old intelligence reports predicted they would, exactly as humanity had prepared for. Distance to lunar orbit? Han asked. They will reach the moon in 45 minutes, sir. Good. General Yuna, are your weapons ready? On the moon, Yuna checked her boards. Every indicator showed green. All systems ready, Director. Waiting for your command. Captain Tay, status? Near Mars, Tai responded immediately. Mars fleet ready, sir. We are in position. Han took a deep breath. This was it. 30 years of preparation came down to this moment. If they failed, Earth would fall. Humanity would become slaves or worse. But if they succeeded, all stations, Han said clearly. Weapons free. Engage on my mark. In space, the Qualith fleet moved forward, confident and unstoppable. They expected an easy victory. They expected fear and chaos. They expected a primitive world to crumble before their might. They were about to learn that humanity had been waiting, and humanity was ready. Commander Thalen watched Earth grow larger on his screens. The fleet was moving perfectly. In less than an hour, they would be in orbit. Then the real work would begin. Bombardment, invasion, conquest. Launch the first attack wave, Thalen ordered. 100 fighters. Destroy their satellites and any orbital stations. Show them the power of the Qualith. 100 small, fast ships shot forward from the main fleet. They screamed through space toward Earth's orbit. Their pilots were confident. They had done this many times before on other worlds. Humans would have no defense against them. The fighters crossed past the moon's orbit. Their sensors showed the expected targets ahead. Satellites, a few small space stations. Nothing dangerous. Nothing to worry about. Then everything changed. The space around the fighters suddenly filled with massive objects. Huge platforms appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. They had been invisible, hidden by some kind of camouflage. But now they revealed themselves. And they were covered in weapons. On the moon, General Yuna gave a single command. Fire. The lunar surface erupted. What looked like ordinary craters suddenly opened, revealing weapon emplacements, energy cannons, missile batteries, plasma lances, all built with technology reverse-engineered from that crashed Qualith ship 30 years ago. All improved by human ingenuity, all aimed at the incoming fighters. Blue beams of coherent energy shot through space. They moved at the speed of light. The Qualith fighters had no time to dodge, no time to react. The first wave of fire destroyed 30 fighters in 3 seconds. The surviving pilots panicked. They tried to scatter, to evade, to run. But they were flying into a carefully designed kill zone. Missiles launched from hidden platforms. More energy beams cut through the darkness. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. On Thalen's flagship, the tactical display turned red with casualty markers. 60 fighters destroyed, 70, 80. In less than 30 seconds, more than half the attack wave was gone. What is happening? Thalen shouted. Where did those weapons come from? His tactical officer's hands shook as he worked his console. Commander, those are not primitive weapons. Those are advanced energy systems, possibly more advanced than our own, and there are more platforms, many more. They surround the entire planet. That is impossible, our intelligence said. Our intelligence was wrong, Commander. The tactical officer's voice rose in fear. Look at the power signatures. Earth has a complete orbital defense network. They have been hiding it somehow. The electromagnetic readings I detected earlier were not industrial. They were military. The few surviving fighters tried desperately to return to the fleet. Only 12 made it back. 88 fighters lost. 88 pilots dead. In the history of the Qualith Dominion, nothing like this had ever happened. Director Han's face appeared on every screen in Thalen's fleet. The human looked calm, cold, dangerous. I warned you to turn back, Han said. You chose not to listen. Let me be clear about your situation. We have known about the Qualith Dominion for 30 years. We found one of your scout ships. We studied your technology. We learned your language. We read your intelligence files. We know your tactics. We know your strategies. And we have spent 3 decades preparing for this moment. Thalen felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. Han continued. Every move you make, we predicted. Every formation you use, we have countered. Your fleet is now surrounded by weapons platforms, defense satellites, and military assets you cannot even detect. You are in a trap. Turn your ships around and leave our solar system. This is your last chance, Thalen's mind raced. This could not be real. Humans were supposed to be weak, divided, helpless. How could they have hidden such power? How could they have deceived the Dominion for 30 years? Pride made his decision. No, Thalen said. The Qualith Dominion does not retreat. All ships attack formation. We will break through their defenses and burn their world. Full power, engage! 250 warships moved forward in a massive spearhead formation, their shields powered up, their weapons charged. If humans wanted a fight, Thalen would give them one they would never forget. In the command center under the Pacific, Han sighed. They chose death, very well. Captain Tay, execute flanking maneuver. General Yuna, all batteries fire at will. Let us show them what happens when they threaten Earth. Near Mars, Captain Tay had been waiting for those words. Drop camouflage. All ships advance. Launch all fighters. 50 stealth ships suddenly appeared in space, positioned perfectly on the Qualith fleet's flank. The enemy had been so focused on Earth, they never looked behind them. They never suspected that humanity had ships hiding near Mars. The stealth carriers opened their launch bays. Hundreds of human fighters poured out. These were not the primitive spacecraft the Qualith expected. They were sleek, fast, deadly, and their pilots had trained their entire lives for this battle. Among those pilots was Lieutenant Ji-Wan. She led a squadron called Phoenix Wing, 12 fighters under her command. As she accelerated toward the enemy, her heart pounded with adrenaline. This was what she had trained for. This was her moment. Phoenix Wing, follow my lead, Ji-Wan said over the radio. Hit their command ships. Watch each other's backs. And remember, we are fighting for home. Her squadron dove into the chaos. The space between Earth and Moon became a storm of weapons fire, explosions, and desperate maneuvers. Qualith ships fired their energy cannons. Human ships dodged and returned fire. Shields flickered and failed. Ships exploded on both sides. But the Qualith were not prepared for this. They had grown comfortable with easy victories. Their pilots were skilled but overconfident. Human pilots fought with desperation and determination. They were defending their world, their families, their species. Every shot counted. Every kill mattered. Ji-Wan locked onto a Qualith destroyer. She fired her plasma torpedoes. They slammed into the enemy's shields, overloading them. A second later, her wingmen fired missiles that tore through the destroyer's hull. The ship broke apart, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. Good kill, Phoenix 2, Ji-Wan said. Next target, bearing 270. On Earth's surface, Colonel Bin sat in a mountain command bunker. Around him, operators controlled the planetary defense grid. Massive cannons built into mountains hidden in deserts concealed beneath the ocean, all of them now rotating toward space. All batteries report ready, an operator announced. Fire, Bin ordered. The ground shook as fusion-powered energy cannons unleashed their power. Brilliant beams of concentrated energy shot upward, piercing the atmosphere and reaching into space. They struck Qualith warships with devastating force. Shields held for a moment, then collapsed. Hull armor melted. Ships broke apart under the assault. The Qualith fleet found itself caught in a crossfire. Attacks from the moon, attacks from Mars' fleet, attacks from Earth's surface. They were surrounded, outmaneuvered, outgunned. Thalen watched in horror as his proud fleet died around him. Ships exploded. Escape pods launched. Distress signals filled the communication channels. His tactical display showed nothing but red markers. Red for destroyed ships. Red for dead crews. Red for failure, Commander, we must retreat. His second officer pleaded. We have lost over 100 ships. The fleet is breaking apart. If we stay, we all die. But Thalen's pride would not let him accept defeat. Not yet, no. Focus all fire on Grid Section 7. Intelligence said that area has weaker defenses. We break through there and strike the planet directly. All ships, concentrate fire. It was a tactically sound decision. But Thalen did not realize it was exactly what Han expected him to do. The apparent weakness in Earth's defenses was bait, and Thalen took it. As the Qualith fleet concentrated their attack on one area, they failed to notice small objects drifting closer. Objects that looked like debris from destroyed satellites. Objects that were actually automated mines. Director Han watched the enemy fleet move into position. They were exactly where he wanted them. Detonate the mines, now. In space, hundreds of mines activated simultaneously. They had been hidden among the debris, invisible and patient. Now they exploded in a coordinated pattern. The blasts ripped through Qualith shields at close range. Dozens of ships took critical damage. Some exploded immediately. Others lost power and drifted helplessly. In the same moment, General Yuna launched everything the moon had. Every weapon, every missile, every energy beam, a solid wall of destruction that hammered into the concentrated Qualith formation. Thalen's flagship shuddered as impacts struck the shields. Warning alarm screamed. Damage reports flooded in from every section of the ship. Shields at 20%, someone shouted. Fire and engineering, another voice called out. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. Thalen stumbled as another impact rocked the ship. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to keep the flagship alive. But it was hopeless. They were losing. The mighty Qualith Dominion was being defeated by a species they thought was primitive. Han's face appeared on Thalen's screen again. This time, the human's expression was different. Not angry, not triumphant. Just tired, Commander Thalen, Han said quietly. You have lost. Over half your fleet is destroyed. The rest are damaged and surrounded. I am offering you a choice. Surrender now, and your surviving crews will be treated fairly under our laws of war. Continue fighting and every ship will be destroyed. Commander Thalen stared at the tactical display. Red markers everywhere. Each one represented a destroyed ship, a dead crew, a failed invasion. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Commander, what are your orders? His second officer asked quietly. Thalen said nothing. His mind replayed the battle. Everything had gone wrong. Every assumption had been false. The humans were not weak. They were not divided. They had been waiting, planning, preparing. Another explosion rocked the flagship. More alarms sounded. The shields were failing. Soon the ship itself would die. Commander, the second officer shouted. We need to decide now. Thalen closed his eyes. He thought of his homeworld, his family, the proud history of the Qualith Dominion, 17 worlds conquered, 17 victories. But Earth would not be the 18th. Earth had beaten them. He opened his eyes and took a deep breath. Signal all ships. We surrender. The bridge fell silent. Qualith warriors did not surrender. It was not their way. But neither was total annihilation. Thalen had made the only choice that would save his remaining crews. Broadcast on all frequencies, Thalen said, his voice heavy with defeat. This is Commander Thalen of the Qualith invasion fleet. We surrender. All ships power down weapons and shields. Comply with human instructions. Across the remains of his fleet, ships went dark. Weapons powered down. Engines cut to minimum. 70 proud warships now floated helplessly in space, surrounded by human forces. In the command center under the Pacific Ocean, Director Han watched the enemy ships power down. Around him, officers cheered. Some hugged each other. Others cried with relief. They had won. Earth was safe, but Han did not celebrate. He knew this was just the beginning. Send recovery teams to secure the surrendered vessels. Medical teams prepare to treat wounded. And get me a secure line to the World Council. They need to know what happened here. On the moon, General Yuna sat back in her chair and let out a long breath. For 30 years, she had prepared for this battle. 30 years of training, building, waiting. And now it was over. Her weapons had worked. Her people had fought well. Earth had survived. She touched her communication panel. All lunar stations cease fire. Maintain defensive positions but do not engage unless fired upon. The enemy has surrendered. Near Mars, Captain Tay watched his fighters return to their carriers. Every pilot was accounted for. Some ships had damage. A few pilots were wounded, but they were all alive. They had done their duty. Lieutenant Jiwon guided her fighter into the landing bay of the Silent Thunder. As soon as her ship touched down, ground crew rushed to check it. Her fighter had taken several hits. Burn marks scorched the hull. One wing was partially melted, but it had held together. Jiwon climbed out of the cockpit. Her legs felt weak. Her hands shook from adrenaline. She had been in combat for 3 hours straight. She had destroyed 4 enemy ships herself, helped damage several more, and she had kept her entire squadron alive. "Good flying, Lieutenant," Captain Tay said, walking across the flight deck to meet her. "You and your squadron performed exceptionally." "Thank you, sir," Jiwon said. "But the fight is not over, is it?" Tay shook his head. "No. The battle is won, but now comes everything else. Questions, consequences. The galaxy will react to what happened here." Across the solar system, human ships moved to secure the surrendered Qualith vessels. It was a delicate operation. Some Qualith crews were cooperative. Others were hostile, even in defeat. But slowly, methodically, human forces took control. On the flagship, Commander Thalen was escorted to a human transport ship by armed soldiers. He walked with dignity, his head held high despite the shame he felt. As he passed through corridors, he saw human soldiers. Young, alert, professional. These were not the primitive warriors he expected. These were trained military personnel. A woman in an officer's uniform waited for him in the transport bay. "Commander Thalen, I am Commander Mina. You and your crew will be taken to a holding facility where you will receive medical attention and fair treatment under our laws of war." Thalen looked at her. "Why do you show us mercy?" "We came to conquer your world, to enslave your people." Mina's expression was hard. "Because we are not like you. We do not treat prisoners with cruelty. You will be held safely until decisions are made about your future." As Thalen's transport departed, he looked back at his damaged flagship. His career was over. His reputation destroyed. But at least he was alive. The humans could have killed every Qualith in the fleet. Instead, they showed mercy. It was confusing, disturbing. The Dominion would never do such a thing. Back on Earth, the secret was finally revealed to the public. For decades, people had wondered about the mysterious space programs, the massive spending, the classified facilities. Now they knew the truth. There had been a threat. An alien invasion was coming, and their governments had prepared to meet it. News broadcasts showed footage of the battle. People watched in awe as human ships fought and won. Children stared at screens showing Earth's orbital defenses. Adults argued about what this meant for the future. The world had changed forever in a matter of hours. In a conference room deep beneath the Pacific, Director Han met with leaders from around the world via secure video link. Presidents, prime ministers, military commanders, all of them had questions. "How long before the Dominion sends more ships?" asked one leader. "We do not know," Han replied honestly. "It depends on how they react to this defeat. They may send a larger fleet, or they may pause to reassess. We captured their communication equipment. We are monitoring their networks. We will have advance warning." "What about the prisoners?" another leader asked. "We have 70 damaged ships and approximately 40,000 Qualith personnel in custody. They will be treated according to international law and the rules of war. We will not become monsters just because we fought monsters." "And what about the galaxy?" a third leader asked. Other species will learn what happened here. How will they react? Han pulled up a star chart. Our intelligence suggests there are dozens of spacefaring civilizations in our region of the galaxy. The Qualith Dominion has subjugated many of them. When news of this defeat spreads, there will be consequences. Some species may see this as an opportunity to rebel. Others may fear us. Some may want to form alliances. So Earth is no longer isolated, the first leader said. No, Han agreed. We can never go back to what we were. The galaxy knows we exist now, knows we are strong. We must decide what kind of civilization we want to be. Do we become conquerors like the Qualith? Do we isolate ourselves? Or do we reach out, seek allies, and try to build something better? The discussion continued for hours. Decisions were made. Plans formed. Earth would not hide, would not retreat. Humanity would take its place among the stars, but on its own terms. 3 days after the battle, a Qualith communications buoy at the edge of the solar system began transmitting. It sent a compressed data burst toward the Dominion homeworld light years away. The message contained everything: full battle reports, tactical analysis, casualty lists, and a recording of Commander Thalen's surrender. When that message reached the Qualith homeworld weeks later, it would cause chaos. But for now, Earth had time. Time to rebuild, time to strengthen, time to prepare for whatever came next. In a newly constructed orbital station called Sentinel-1, Commander Mina walked through the detention levels. The Qualith prisoners were held in clean, secure cells. They received food, medical care, and fair treatment. It was more than they expected, more than they deserved. One prisoner, a young Qualith officer named Kalesh, watched Mina pass his cell. He had been captured when his fighter was disabled. He expected torture, execution. Instead, he received medical treatment for his injuries and a clean place to sleep. Why? Kalesh called out in broken human language. Why you help enemy? Mina stopped and turned to face him. Because that is who we are. We fight when we must. We show mercy when we can. Cruelty does not make us strong. It makes us like you. Kalesh had no response. He had been taught that humans were weak and foolish. But they had defeated the Dominion, and now they showed kindness to those who tried to destroy them. It made no sense according to Qualith thinking. Director Han stood alone on an observation deck looking at Earth below. The planet looked peaceful from here, beautiful, but he knew the truth. There were weapons everywhere now in orbit, on the moon, hidden across the solar system. Earth was armed, ready, waiting. An alert chimed on his communication device. He checked it and frowned. Their long-range sensors had detected something. A ship was approaching from outside the solar system. Not Qualith. Something else. Something new. Han touched his communicator. Command Center, this is Han. I see the alert. What are we looking at? Unknown vessel, sir. Different design than anything in our database. They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies. It appears to be a greeting message, Han smiled slightly. Of course it is. The galaxy heard what happened here. Now everyone wants to know who we are. Prepare a response team. Let us see who else is out there. As he walked back to the command center, Han thought about the future. Earth had won its first battle, but there would be more challenges ahead. More threats. More opportunities. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but whatever came next, humanity would face it together. United. Prepared. And Una. 6 weeks had passed since the battle. Earth had changed in ways nobody could have imagined. The secret space program was now public knowledge. Every night people looked up at the sky and knew that humanity was no longer alone. And more importantly, they knew humanity was strong enough to defend itself. In the Qualith homeworld, chaos ruled. The Dominion Council sat in their great chamber arguing, shouting. Some demanded immediate revenge. Others urged caution. The defeat at Earth was the first major loss in Dominion history. Nobody knew how to handle it. We must send the entire fleet, roared one council member. 10,000 ships. We will crush these humans and make an example of them. And what if we lose again? Another council member replied. Have you read the battle reports? The humans were ready for us. They knew our tactics. They had technology equal or superior to ours. How did they get it? How long have they been watching us? The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Finally, the High Commander raised his hand for silence. He was old, scarred from many battles, and his word carried weight. We cannot ignore this, the High Commander said, but neither can we react with blind rage. The humans defeated an invasion fleet of 300 ships. We must learn how they did it. We must understand what we face. I propose we send a diplomatic envoy. Let us talk with these humans, learn their capabilities, and then decide our next action. Half the council protested. Talking with an enemy? Showing weakness? It was unthinkable. But the other half saw wisdom in the suggestion. Finally, after hours of debate, they voted. A diplomatic mission would be sent to Earth. Back on Earth, Director Han sat in his office reading reports. The victory had come at a cost. Though human casualties were relatively light compared to the enemy, they still lost ships. 238 people had died in the battle. Engineers, pilots, soldiers. Each one had a name, a family. A life cut short. Han touched a display on his desk. It showed a memorial wall being constructed in the main command center. Thousands of names would be carved there, not just those who died in the battle, but all those who died during the 30 years of secret preparation. Scientists killed in laboratory accidents, test pilots who crashed, construction workers who died building hidden facilities. All of them had sacrificed for Earth's survival. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," Han said. Agent Rin stepped inside. She was the head of Earth's intelligence division, a woman who had spent decades in the shadows gathering information and keeping secrets. Now she looked tired but satisfied. "Director, I have the full analysis you requested," Rin said, placing a data tablet on his desk. "We have finished interrogating the Qualith prisoners and examining their computers. The intelligence is remarkable." "Tell me," Han said. "The Qualith Dominion controls 17 conquered worlds, as we suspected, but their hold is weakening. 12 of those worlds are in various stages of rebellion. The victory at Earth has inspired them. They see that the Dominion can be beaten." Han nodded slowly. "So our victory has consequences beyond our solar system." "Yes, and there is more. The Qualith have been receiving reports about us for years. They had spy networks on Earth, but we knew about them. We fed them false information, made them believe we were primitive and divided. They saw exactly what we wanted them to see. And now the galaxy knows the truth. We have detected increased communication traffic across multiple star systems. Everyone is talking about Earth. Some are afraid. Some are curious. And some want to be our friends." Han stood and walked to his window. Outside, the Pacific Ocean stretched to the horizon. Somewhere beneath those waves was the command center that had coordinated Earth's defense. Somewhere up there in space were stations, weapons, and ships that proved humanity belonged among the stars. "We will need allies," Han said. "We cannot stand alone against the entire galaxy, but we must choose carefully who we trust." "Agreed," Rin said. "I have identified 3 civilizations that might be suitable. The Melkari Coalition are peaceful and scientifically advanced. The Torvan Republic trades freely and avoids conflicts, and the Zenith Commonwealth has been fighting the Qualith for years. Any of them might be interested in an alliance. Prepare diplomatic packages for all 3. We will reach out carefully. Meanwhile, keep monitoring Qualith communications. I want to know what they are planning." On Sentinel-1, Commander Mina made her daily rounds through the detention area. The Qualith prisoners had settled into a routine. Some remained hostile and refused to speak. Others had become more cooperative, especially after they realized humans were serious about fair treatment. She stopped at Kalesh's cell. The young Qualith officer was reading a human book, translated into his language. He looked up when Mina approached. "You are learning about us," Mina observed. "I am trying to understand," Kalesh replied. His human language had improved significantly. "Your history is strange. You fight each other constantly, yet when an outside threat appears, you unite. How?" "Because we realize that what unites us is stronger than what divides us," Mina said. "We are all human, all from Earth. When someone threatens our home, our differences do not matter." "The Dominion is not like that," Kalesh said quietly. "We conquer because we believe it is our right. The strong rule the weak. That is our way. And how is that working out?" Mina asked, not unkindly. Kalesh had no answer. He had been taught all his life that the Qualith were superior, unstoppable. But Earth had stopped them, defeated them, and then showed them mercy. It challenged everything he believed. Far from Earth, Captain Tay stood on the bridge of a new ship called the Ambassador. It was humanity's first purpose-built diplomatic vessel, fast and well-armed but designed for peace rather than war. With him was a crew of diplomats, linguists, and scientists. Their mission was to make contact with the Melkari Coalition. Approaching the Melkari system, the navigator announced. Reducing speed to sublight. Activating greeting protocols. Tay felt nervous. This was humanity's first official contact with a friendly alien species. Everything they did here would set a precedent. They needed to get it right. Open a communication channel, Tay ordered. Broadcast our greeting in Melkari language. The transmission went out, carefully crafted by Earth's best linguists. This is Captain Tay of Earth, representing humanity. We come in peace, seeking dialogue and friendship. We request permission to approach your homeworld. Minutes passed. Then a response came back, audio only. The voice spoke in calm, measured tones. Earthship Ambassador, you are welcome in Melkari space. We have heard of your victory over the Qualith. We are interested in learning more about your people. Approach coordinates are being transmitted. Welcome. Tay allowed himself a small smile. First contact successful. Now came the hard part. Building a relationship with an alien civilization. Back on Earth, construction had accelerated. The moon now had 3 permanent bases instead of 1. Mars colony construction had begun. New ships were being built in orbital shipyards. Humanity was expanding rapidly, knowing that time was precious. The Qualith would come again eventually. Earth needed to be even stronger. In a laboratory hidden in the mountains of Korea, Dr. Hyun examined the latest test results. He was the lead scientist who had reverse-engineered the crashed Qualith ship 30 years ago. Now he was working on the next generation of human technology, not just copying alien designs but improving them, creating something uniquely human. The new drive system is stable, his assistant reported. We are achieving 0.85 light speed with 30% better fuel efficiency than Qualith designs. Dr. Hyun nodded with satisfaction. Good, begin production. Every new ship should have this drive. We are no longer playing catch-up with alien technology. We are innovating, leading. A message alert chimed on his console. It was from Director Han, marked urgent. Dr. Hyun opened it and read quickly. The Qualith were sending a diplomatic mission to Earth. An ambassador was coming to talk. Dr. Hyun sat back and considered this news. After 30 years of preparing for war, now humanity had to prepare for peace. Or at least the appearance of peace. He did not trust the Qualith. They were predators who had grown weak from easy victories. Now they faced a species that could fight back. Keep working, Dr. Hyun told his team. No matter what the diplomats say, we must remain ready for anything. On Sentinel-1, Director Han authorized the construction of a diplomatic facility. If the Qualith were sending an ambassador, Earth would receive them properly. But Han made sure the facility was heavily guarded and monitored. Trust had to be earned. General Yuna visited Earth for the first time in months. She had been living on the moon, commanding the lunar defenses. Now she stood in Han's office, looking at the blue planet below. They say a Qualith ambassador is coming, Yuna said. Yes, Han confirmed. In 2 weeks, an ambassador named Veloth and a full diplomatic team. Do you trust them? No, but we must talk. War is expensive, destructive. If we can achieve peace without more fighting, we should try. And if it is a trick, a way to get close and strike? Han smiled grimly. Then they will learn that Earth is even more dangerous up close than from a distance. Agent Rin will screen every member of their delegation. Our sensors will monitor them constantly, and if they try anything hostile, they will not leave our solar system alive. Yuna nodded. 1 year had passed since the battle. Earth looked different now. The moon had become a bustling city with over 50,000 permanent residents. Construction teams worked around the clock, building more facilities, more defenses, more everything. Mars had its first colony, small but growing, and in orbit around Earth, massive shipyards produced new vessels every month. The Qualith Dominion had kept its word. After months of difficult negotiations, they agreed to a peace treaty. It was not the treaty they wanted, but it was the treaty Earth demanded. No more invasions, recognition of human sovereignty over the Sol system, and most importantly, the gradual release of the species they had conquered. Ambassador Veloth had been furious at that final demand. He argued that it would destroy the Dominion. Director Han, now formally titled Secretary General of the United Earth Government, had been unmoved. Then the Dominion will learn to exist without conquered slaves, Han had said coldly, or it will fall apart. Either way, we will not allow you to continue enslaving other species. The treaty was signed. Not because the Qualith wanted peace, but because they feared what would happen if they continued fighting. Earth had proven it could defend itself, and intelligence reports suggested that humanity was rapidly building more ships, more weapons, more technology. The longer the Dominion waited, the stronger Earth became. On Sentinel-1, Commander Mina said goodbye to Kelesh. The Qualith prisoners were being returned to their homeworld as part of the treaty. Kelesh had spent a year in human custody, and it had changed him. "I do not know what I will tell my people," Kelesh said. "They will ask about Earth, about humans. What should I say?" "Tell them the truth," Mina replied. "We are not your enemies unless you make us enemies. We want peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Kelesh nodded slowly. "I will tell them, but I do not think they will listen. The Dominion does not change easily." "Then the Dominion will learn through hard experience," Mina said. "Safe journey, Kelesh. I hope we meet again under better circumstances." As the Qualith prisoners boarded transport ships for home, Mina felt mixed emotions. Some of them, like Kelesh, had learned something during their captivity. They saw that humans were not monsters, but others remained hostile and angry, convinced that the Dominion would return stronger and take revenge. Only time would tell which group was right. Captain Tay returned from his diplomatic mission to the Melkari coalition. He brought good news. The Melkari were interested in an alliance. They were peaceful scientists who had been threatened by the Qualith for years. Now, with Earth's protection, they felt safer. In return, they offered to share their advanced medical technology and scientific knowledge. "They are good people," Tay reported to Secretary General Han. "Peaceful, curious, and genuinely interested in cooperation. I recommend we formalize the alliance." "Agreed," Han said. "We need friends in this galaxy. The Qualith are not our only potential enemy. Agent Rin's intelligence report suggests there are other aggressive species out there." "What about the Torvan Republic?" Tay asked. "Their diplomats arrived last week. We are in early discussions. They are traders, not warriors, but they have connections across dozens of star systems. An alliance with them would give us access to trade networks and information." Tay smiled. "A year ago, we were alone. Now we are building a coalition. Yes, but we must remain careful. Not every species that approaches us has good intentions. Some want to use us. Others fear us. We must navigate carefully." In the orbital shipyards, Lieutenant Jiwan, now promoted to commander, oversaw the test flights of humanity's first fully original warship. The ship was called Indomitable, and it represented everything humanity had learned. It was faster than Qualith ships, more maneuverable, better armed. It was a ship designed from the ground up by human engineers, not copied from alien technology. Jiwan sat in the pilot's seat, her hands on the controls. The ship responded perfectly to her commands. She pushed the engines, testing their limits. The Indomitable accelerated smoothly, reaching speeds that would have been impossible a year ago. All systems performing within acceptable ranges, her co-pilot reported. "This ship is incredible, Commander." "Yes," Jiwan agreed. "And we are building 20 more just like it. The Qualith thought we were weak. They will never make that mistake again." She thought about the battle a year ago, the fear, the adrenaline, the desperate fight to protect her home. Now Earth was no longer desperate. Earth was strong, and getting stronger every day. On Earth's surface, in the mountains where the first Qualith scout ship had crashed 30 years ago, a ceremony was being held. Secretary General Han stood before a monument, newly constructed. It honored the beginning of everything, the crash that changed human history. 30 years ago, we found a damaged alien ship in these mountains, Han said to the assembled crowd. That discovery could have destroyed us. If the Qualith had known we found their technology, they would have attacked immediately before we were ready. But we kept the secret. We worked in silence. We prepared. He gestured to the monument behind him. It was shaped like a ship reaching toward the sky. Names covered its surface. Thousands of names. Everyone who worked on the project, everyone who kept the secret, everyone who made Earth's survival possible. These people saved our species, Han continued. They deserve to be remembered, honored, and we must never forget the lesson they taught us. Preparation matters, unity matters, and sometimes the greatest strength is the ability to wait for the right moment. The crowd applauded. Among them were veterans of the battle, scientists who built the weapons, engineers who constructed the ships, and ordinary citizens who had lived their lives not knowing that above them, in the darkness of space, preparations for war were being made. Now everyone knew. The secret was out, and humanity had embraced it. Colonel Bin, now General Bin, stood in a command center on Mars, watching construction teams work on the colony. Red dust swirled in the thin atmosphere. Domes rose from the surface, each one a small habitat for colonists. Soon thousands of humans would call Mars home. Status report, Bin requested. Life support systems at full capacity, sir. Water recycling operating at 98% efficiency. Food production greenhouses are producing above projections. The colony is stable and growing. Bin nodded with satisfaction. This was humanity's first step toward becoming a multi-planet species. If something happened to Earth, if some catastrophe struck, humanity would survive. They would have a backup. A second home, continue expansion, Bin ordered. I want capacity for 10,000 colonists within 2 years. In a research facility on Earth, Dr. Hyun worked on the next breakthrough. His team had mastered reverse engineering Qualith technology. Now they were pushing beyond it, creating things the Qualith had never imagined. Doctor, the quantum communication test was successful, a researcher reported excitedly. We achieved instantaneous communication across a distance of 5 light-years. No delay, no signal degradation. Dr. Hyun allowed himself a rare smile. Excellent. This will change everything. With this technology, our ships can communicate across the galaxy in real time. No more waiting for messages to travel at light speed. The Qualith never developed this, the researcher said. No, they never needed to. They relied on brute force and intimidation. But we cannot afford to do that. We must be smarter, faster, better. Innovation is our advantage. Agent Rin sat in her office reviewing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Her network had grown significantly in the past year. Human agents now operated on 12 different worlds, gathering information, making contacts, and watching for threats. One report caught her attention. It came from an agent near the Qualith homeworld. According to the information, the Dominion was fracturing. Several council members had been removed from power. Military commanders were arguing about strategy, and the subjugated worlds were breaking free one by one. Rin drafted a summary and sent it to Secretary General Han. The Qualith Dominion was dying, not from external force, but from internal collapse. Their empire had been built on fear and conquest. Now that they had been defeated, that fear was gone, and the empire was falling apart. It was, Rin thought, exactly what they deserved. On the anniversary of the battle, now celebrated as Unity Day, Secretary General Han addressed the entire planet. Billions of people watched on screens, listened on radios, or gathered in public spaces to hear his words. 1 year ago, we faced an invasion, Han said. An alien force came to conquer our world. They believed we were weak, divided, helpless. They were wrong. Cheers erupted across the planet. We won because we prepared, because we worked together, because we never gave up hope. But our work is not finished. The galaxy is vast. There are wonders out there we cannot imagine. And yes, there are dangers too. But we will face them as we faced the Qualith. Together, united, strong. He paused, letting his words sink in. We are no longer alone on our small blue planet. We are citizens of the galaxy now. We have allies, we have responsibilities, and we have opportunities. The future is ours to shape. Let us make it a future worth living in. For ourselves, for our children, for all of humanity. The speech ended with thunderous applause. Across Earth, celebrations began. Unity Day was a reminder of what humanity could achieve when they worked together. But in Hay,